Leo, welcome to your full moon reading for the upcoming October. Well, the first of two full moons. We've got a blue moon this month, so we start October and we end October with a full moon. How's that? So this reading I'm going to do a little bit differently. What I'm going to do is start with a little bit of astrology using the Arcana of astrology cards, and then I'm going to do a geomantic reading to sort of see what's going on in the 3D. So just to kind of start things off, it's fair to say that this full moon is going to kickstart a period that's going to be a little bit more eventful and possibly a bit more volatile than we've had in some time. And the reason that I say that is because October's packed full of fairly challenging energy, but you know, we've got Mercury that's just ingressed into Scorpio, for example, and Mercury will be going retrograde mid-month. So if you think back to 2019, that energy wasn't too easy, and you know, I think forced us to kind of go in and deal with some like buried trauma and that kind of thing. So it's that energy of going into the roots and basically turning lead to gold, you know, with what we've kind of denied, repressed, or just haven't had time to sort of deal with kind of up until now. There's lots of other things going on too, which I'll get into, you know, in my forecasts in the coming weeks. But, you know, I have done a general forecast in terms of the astrology for this particular time period. So if you haven't watched that, then do go and watch it now. So for you, Leo, this full moon happens across two set of houses for you. In your case, the moon will be in your 9th house, which is the house of beliefs and of higher education, foreign travel, foreign connections, philosophical ideas, religious, cultural, legal, sometimes events, happenings, and principles, that kind of thing. So it's the ethical life, the spiritual life, the higher mind, basically. And then the sun in Libra will be in your 3rd house of local travel and of the sort of the logical mind. So I think that really this could be a time when you, if you've been learning something new, perhaps you kind of graduate either literally or symbolically. It could also be where you start to see work paying off in the areas of publishing, teaching, spirituality, that kind of thing. But we'll find out more once we get into the geomantic reading. The other key thing that's going to be happening at this full moon is that we've got the moon making a conjunction to Chiron. Now, of course, Chiron is the planet of the wounded healer. So I like to see this as being about turning kind of pain into power. So this is really about learning important lessons, healing old wounds, and then using this experience to kind of go on and teach others, which is, I think, lovely. So there is definitely an opportunity for healing over the next 2 weeks or so, and it may be that a matter that has kind of you know, been of concern to you for some time finally gets resolved, and you're able to sort of move forward or to transcend this particular issue, so that, as I say, it can become part of your sort of your what you have to offer, what you can teach others, and you know, in order to sort of pay it forward, kind of thing. And then the other thing that's going on is that Saturn is newly direct after being retrograde for several months. Saturn will also be coming off of a square to Mars in Aries, which is also retrograde. So this is a cardinal square, quite tricky energy, and it's been around since the end of August, about the 24th of August, when we had the first set of squares, and then of course Mars went retrograde, so it went back, and they've just squared again, I think on about the 29th of September. So that energy will still be quite fresh in the air, but I think what's happening though is that we're moving from the internal environment, which is that retrograde energy, or looking at the past, to a focus on the future and looking at obstacles and delays and hindrances and blocks that need to be worked with, let go of, or kind of overcome. But again, let's see what comes out in the reading. So I'm just going to put those here as a reminder of the main houses that are going to be highlighted during this full moon. So do bear in mind that full moons for me last for about 2 weeks, because they start off the waning moon cycle of the moon and they last until the next new moon, which I think this month will be around about the 14th of October or so. And of course, you know, mid-month, Mercury will turn retrograde, so around about that time. But equally, we've got some nice transits coming up too. We've got another Jupiter-Neptune sextile, so this will be the third sextile of the 3 that it's made in, I think, about the 20th of February, around about the end of July, and then this is the last pass. So this is, you know, this is really positive, uplifting energy. It's all about kind of wisdom, the higher mind, the higher self, spiritual growth, expansion, you know, all that kind of thing. So, you know, even if this month is quite volatile and possibly a bit dramatic, there are definitely patches of sunshine, silver linings to be had. So I think the key thing is what we choose to focus on. The light or the shade. It's definitely good to transmute the shade, that's for sure, not ignore it, but at the same time we don't have to give it all our energy. Right, let's cut those cards. Right. So again, I'm not going to be turning over all the cards. I'm just going to try and really stay focused on the planetary energy so we don't get too confused. Otherwise, you know, too much information. But I will clarify what we do talk about with the Magpie Oracle, you know, with the trinkets. So hopefully we should get a bit more clarity when it comes to the reading. So as I said, the sun and the moon for you will be in the 3rd and the 9th houses. So let's turn over those figures first. How fascinating. The same geomantic figure. Card of Draconis, which is the south node. So this is the tail of the dragon in geomantic speak. And as you can see from the figure at the bottom, this is about something leaving, an ending, a cycle ending. And of course, perfect for a full moon. That's usually what full moons are about. They're either about culminations or endings. So I think this, as I say, is for you the end of some kind of cycle to do with knowledge, wisdom, learning, travel, movement, you know, communication, those kinds of issues. So that's really, really interesting. And then the other, as I say, the other key planet is Capricorn, is Saturn in Capricorn, which is just newly gone direct. So for you, that is 6th house of work, health, pets, everyday routines, work environment, that kind of thing. And interesting, you've got your sign here, the Sun in Leo, so Fortuna Minor. So it looks as though when it comes to those matters, you will have some help, either from the universe or from other people. So, you know, if you're kind of having a difficult time trying to find work, or perhaps you're having a difficult time with a colleague or a boss, then I do feel that you're going to get support here, some help from other people. Maybe a friend knows about a job, or somebody recommends you to somebody else, or, you know, possibly somebody puts a word in with the boss and, you know, a misunderstanding is sorted out, or you get a promotion, that kind of thing. So that looks really positive. The other thing to say is that, as I said, you know, Chiron is going to be making that conjunction to the moon, so we're going to pull some trinkets on that. Now, Saturn for you rules, I'm trying to think. Yeah, well, it will rule the 6th house. So yeah. So the sun will be in the 3rd. So the other thing to say, of course, is that, yeah, let's think about this. So with the sun in Libra here in your 3rd house, what we could be talking about in terms of an ending is something to do with the way that you express yourself, you know, self-expression, because the sun can be about that, especially given that it rules your 1st house. So this could also be about a shift in the way that you communicate, whether it's your ideas or whether it's just sort of communication in general. You could also hear from somebody, possibly a male, or, you know, or a female who's at a distance from you, with the moon being here in your 9th house of foreign relations. So yeah, let's pull some trinkets and just do a little bit of clarifying. The other thing I wanted to pull, of course, is the fifth house, because that is related to, that's kind of sun ruled. That's sort of the natural house of Leo. Yeah, so probably shouldn't have. We've got Tristia in your fifth house. So this kind of points to some sort of disappointment when it comes to either children, love, creativity, or holidays. More than likely holidays, given that, you know, there's been travel restrictions instituted again in some parts of the world. And of course, we're also moving into winter now, so here in the Northern Hemisphere. But we will pull some clarifications on that. So first of all, let's have a look at the moon in the ninth house. We've got Mars. This is the boy for me. So it seems as though whatever this cycle is, it's ending. I mean, this is quite fitting given that we've got the moon in Aries in your ninth house. It's Mars ruled, of course. So it could point to the end of perhaps a matter that's been aggravating on an emotional level. It could mean the end of a legal, cultural, educational concern that, you know, possibly a legal matter, that's some kind of legal dispute. It could also be about a renewal of enthusiasm, either about, you know, foreign travel, publishing, you maybe learning something new, that kind of thing. Because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so it can be about, you know, new beginnings. So here in the third house, we've got the star, which is lovely. So I feel as though this is the kind of renewal of hope. The star here being about kind of faith, belief, that things can get better, you know. So I think if things have been a bit slow when it comes to communications with others, you haven't really traveled very much lately. You know, I think people have also been in a bit of a weird space. So there's not been actually a lot of people have kind of pulled back quite a lot and aren't really communicating. So I think, you know, this is all about, you know, the end of that, and possibly, you know, some inspiring news coming in, something that renews your faith or hope, maybe a trip that lifts your spirits. It can also be about divine guidance, you know, just kind of really tuning into your higher self, which is represented by the ninth house, listening to any omens, dreams that are coming through from your guides, because it does look as though they want to communicate with you. So here in the sixth house, we've got the cross. So this to me does point to the end of some kind of burden when it comes to work or health. So I think, you know, with Fortuna Minor here, there's an improvement in health, there's an improvement in work circumstances, an improvement in your everyday life. So that's really good. And let's have one for that Tristia. Okay, so we've got the fox here. So it does seem as though you feel deceived by somebody. You know, maybe you started talking to somebody online and they turned out to be a catfish, or maybe you feel disappointed because you made a booking for a holiday and you had to cancel it due to travel restrictions and you didn't get all your money back, or you feel that somebody kind of presented something to you with, you know, there was kind of false pretenses sort of story. Yeah, quite interesting. Let's put another one just to get some clarity. So a sudden or a swift ending here with the scythe. This is the scythe. I know it looks like an axe, but it's just because I don't think they could find a scythe. So something came to an abrupt ending. Now, as I said, this could have been a last minute cancellation for a holiday. It could be the abrupt ending of a new relationship, for example. It could also be that maybe a creative project didn't really kind of come off because of shenanigans by a third party. I think let's just have a look at the seventh and the eighth house geomantic figures. Yeah, so it does look as though this matter could have had something to do with maybe a creative partnership, because we've got Corsair here in the eighth house. Either that, or kind of a new lover that you know, you kind of you were hoping things were going to go somewhere. This is about intimacy, sex, as well as shared resources, and things didn't really kind of come off. So it could also be about, a creative project that involved other people, and maybe you kind of lost out. Again, it could have been because of COVID related stuff. Say, for example, you were doing a creative project and somebody had commissioned you to do a painting, for example, and then COVID hit and they lost their job and they couldn't pay for the painting and you'd already done it. And so you kind of feel like you lost out. And maybe you had to sue the person, and that's why we've got potentially the dispute here. That's one way of looking at this. Or it could be that you had high hopes for a new person that you were talking to, maybe online romantically, and they kind of ghosted you and disappeared, or you found out that they were also talking to other people, and so you were kind of disappointed when it comes to trust. Those are some scenarios that, just some scenarios that could be what's going on here. But the good news is that in your 7th house of committed relationships, we do have Fortuna Minor again. So I do feel as though this could point to potentially a work partnership that could be potentially very successful. Fortuna Major is Sun in Leo, and it's very, very positive. It's about, success, charisma, accolades, getting noticed, positive, expansive, that sort of solar energy that is generally so well. How strange. Sorry, for some minute I thought the camera wasn't working. I don't know why. So let's just pull a geomantic figure about that. Yeah, interesting. So we've got the mice here. So it seems as though maybe this can kind of work in a number of ways. The mice can be something small that maybe is going to grow into something surprisingly good. It can also be about something that we're kind of worried about that's eating us up from inside, or maybe we've kind of lost out in the past, and that's made us a little bit wary of having faith that things can kind of change in a positive direction, in which case I really feel as though the star is telling you to have some hope and faith that things can get better, and that not every situation is going to turn out as disappointing potentially as this one. So I think maybe this is kind of humble beginnings, but that it something that ends up being really, really positive. So as I say, it could well be that you've had some trouble at work, and maybe you decide to kind of maybe start your own company and go into partnership with somebody, and you start off from the position of loss because you've lost your job, for example, and things kind of go better and better. Let's have a look at the 10th house. Yeah, so it does look as though when it comes to your career, that you do feel as though you've missed an opportunity, or that there's been some kind of loss here. So it may well relate to this cross in your 6th house, Saturn here. Saturn is not easy energy. So, what I think you need to just bear in mind is that the whole world is kind of going through this energy at the moment, and there is the sense of the outer crumbling. But what it's doing is it's making way for the new to come through, and the new is going to be so, so wonderful with that Jupiter-Neptune sextile. So that's just something to really kind of bear in mind. Even though things may seem not so fabulous in the exterior world now, I do feel that things are going to improve vastly, but we have to really go within, have faith, and cultivate, our sort of spiritual life, so that we can really bring ourselves into alignment and manifest that new earth that is talked about so much. So let's just have a trinket for a monsieur before we end the reading. Yes, definitely. The bouquet here. So this definitely tells me that even though you might have suffered a disappointment, or you might think that something is unattainable, much like this mice here, I do think that things will turn out surprisingly well when it comes to a joint venture or a new direction career-wise. So really have hope, have faith, just know that things are improving, and this cycle is ending, this difficult karmic cycle is phasing out, and a new cycle is starting that's likely to be a lot more fortunate. So that's really positive, Leo. Let's get some parting advice from the universe has your back. Yes. The more energy and intention I bring to my faith, the more fearless and free I am. So this to me really points to this message coming through with the star, which is all about, for me, a renewal of faith. And of course, you know, it is happening in your ninth house, which is all about faith and belief. So I really do think that if things have been very difficult over the last few years, particularly when we had those the nodal axis in Cancer and Capricorn, you know, just know that things are really shifting. You know, the nodes are now in Gemini and Sagittarius, so things are really going to shift positively over the next couple of months. And you know, one of the themes of October is about self-empowerment, particularly at this full moon in Aries, which is all about self-empowerment and kind of that sort of entrepreneurial spirit. So just bear that in mind. Be fearless, feel free, have faith that things are going to shift in a positive direction, because definitely they are, if we consider, you know, the astrology. You know, by the time we get to this December full moon, well, the solstice eclipse that we have, and that wonderful Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Aquarius, which is going to be in your 7th house, you're going to feel in a very, very different place to where you are now. So just bear that in mind. Good times are coming, but we might just have to go through a period of volatility to get there.